Today we're talking about the Sony 24-105 f4. It's a constant f4 for E-mount cameras and full frame sensors. All right, let's talk about this lens before I show you some examples. I'm gonna go through some of the pros and cons. The first pro really is how versatile this is for me on the field. Oftentimes I need to go from a wide shot, like a 24mm, to a B-roll shot. So the ability to be able to do that without having to move saves so much time on the field for me. I'm able to maximize my time on location. All right, so 24mm on the wide end. Literally staying in the same place just by going to 105, I get my nice little B-roll shot, my little medium B-roll shot. If I wanted to, I'll switch over to APS-C mode. And now I'm literally in the same spot. I switched over to APS-C mode and I can actually punch in closer to that box. So again, you get so much range with this lens. Going from 24 to 105 and having that big range of zoom options while not getting darker because of the f4 is huge. The 24-105 is actually one of my favorite lenses that I actually have the Canon version of this lens as well as the Sony version of this lens. Personally for me, I actually use 24-105 quite often in most of my shoots. I'd say 80% of my shoots. Second pro, it has optical lens stabilization. That is huge. Again, for my workflow, I often don't like using a gimbal. I often find myself trying to shoot handheld most of the time, and I really like the fact that the optical stabilization is awesome. It works really well with my Sony a7C. Pro number 3, the build quality of the lens is on par with the Canon L lens. There's one little thing I'll tell you a little bit later in the cons section, but the build quality, I would give a 9.5 out of a 10, maybe an 8, maybe a 9, somewhere there. So build quality is good other than one little thing I'll tell you about later. All right, next could either be a pro or a con. It is the price of the lens. I've seen these things go around for $900 to $1,400 depending on where you shop. Pro or con depending on where you get the lens. Last pro is the image coming out of this lens for an f4 24-105 lens, which is, I think this was considered a kit lens, I'm not quite sure. The image is muy bueno, I like it a lot. It's not amazing, but it's on the verge of being great, if that makes any sense. Because I would consider this amazing, the 1.8 Sigma 18-35. It's actually my favorite lens. So that's my reference point. All right, let's move on to cons. It's one con for this lens, and it's the throw of the zoom. The zoom on this thing is kind of clunky compared to the Canon L lens. Stiff and doesn't feel smooth, and it kind of fights you as you do the zoom. Compared to my Canon, like this thing's smooth. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but I definitely feel that it fights me a little bit. Like I'll go to zoom and it'll kind of stop, you know? So that's pretty much the only con I have about the lens. Other than that, I would recommend it, but I wouldn't recommend it over the Canon L lens if you have both systems like me. Oh, one more thing, the low light capabilities on this thing was actually pretty impressive. I shot a Christmas party with this thing with not great lighting. It was in 120 FPS, so my shutter speed was at 250, and it was pretty dark, and I think the images came out pretty decent. And that's probably more so the Sony a7C thing more than the lens thing, but I totally thought it was fine in low light. Here are some more video examples I shot of the 24-105. You can see me zoom in from a wide angle focal length to a close-up focal length. I do this all the time on my jobs, on the field. So this is why I choose the 24-105 on a lot of my jobs. All right, so that's pretty much it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you like it, if you think it sucks, you tell me. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.